A politician in New York has proposed a bill that would allow landlords to remove squatters just like they can in Florida. I'm Tony, and this is Real Estate Investing and Landlord News.
We've heard from homeowner
We are at the mercy of the squatter, the criminal.
after homeowner
I don't have access. They changed my side locks and they changed my entire front door.
who are fighting with squatters who have taken over their homes. In New York, if you call the police on someone who moved in without permission, if they claim to be a tenant, they can't be arrested for trespassing. The homeowner instead has to take them to court.
It's an unfortunate upside-down world.
Jake Blumenkranz is trying to change that.
They know how to work the law to stay for a certain number of days and kind of work the system.
In New York, squatters have rights after 30 days. That means the property owner can't change the locks on them, can't remove their belongings, can't cut off the utilities, or they could be arrested. Instead, property owners must go through the court system to get rid of them, a system that could take close to 2 years for a resolution.
All right, so I have an interesting article for you today, and it's coming out of the state of New York. Now, normally, when I'm talking about New York, I'm talking about landlords losing their rights, things becoming harder for us to evict tenants, harder for us to raise our rents, etc. But a politician in New York actually has proposed a law that would allow landlords to remove squatters from their properties. Okay, so it would basically make it so that, hey, these people could be arrested and removed without having to go through the civil eviction process. This is exactly what I've been talking about, okay? Now, the story about the lady up in Queens who got arrested for trying to remove a squatter from her property, that got a lot of people's attention, okay? I'm talking about, I was watching a ton of big YouTube channels and they were covering the story where normally, it's kind of relegated to, other YouTube channels such as myself and, like Sean Reynolds, okay? So, this is a big topic lately. This is on everyone's minds, and this is the perfect opportunity for us to ask our politicians to look into this issue so maybe we can see a change in the law. Okay, perfect opportunity. So I'm not gonna think that in New York this sort of law will pass, but you never know. You never know. Okay. The average homeowner doesn't deserve to be treated like they are a criminal when you have actual criminals who are stealing your property from you, okay? Those people need to go to jail and they need to be removed from the property. The landlord or the property owner needs to be able to take their property back without having to go through, the eviction process, which in New York could take months or years. So before I get into the article, go ahead, hit the like, subscribe button, maybe leave a comment down below and let me know what you think. So first of all, do you think that this proposed law, I want you to think of what the video that I did about Florida and their new anti-squatter law. Basically, it allows the police to be able to remove a person from a property, even if they have a fake lease and they claim to be a tenant, based on the landlord or the property owner's word or sworn statement, okay? And that's pretty simple. It is very easy to prove that these people are fakes and frauds, yet the police normally, they don't take any action. They don't do any investigation and, they don't charge the people with the crimes that they are committing. As I mentioned before, it's pretty easy to figure out what the crimes are. We're talking about burglary or robbery. We're talking about, breaking and entering. We're talking about property damage. We're talking about fraud, okay? Theft of services, etc. I mean, there's so many laws already on the books that we should be able to charge these people with, but no, they said, no, this is a civil issue. Well, in no reality would this be considered a civil issue if it was anything other than housing that the service that was being sold. So anyway, let's get into this article and see what it says. This article is coming from abc7ny.com and it says, bill filed to prevent squatters from having rights in New York. Yeah, squatters shouldn't have any rights at all anywhere in this entire country, okay? That whole squatters' rights thing, it's outdated, it's useless. The only thing it's doing now is causing property owners and landlords a lot of grief. Anyway, let's see what the article says. Eyewitness News is reporting on the growing squatter problem, and now some lawmakers are taking action. New York has a history of passing some of the toughest laws in the country that are meant to protect honest tenants from greedy landlords. But some lawmakers say the laws have gone too far. They also allow dishonest tenants to take advantage of free housing for years. A state assemblyman from Long Island filed a bill that would make it easier for a homeowner to remove a squatter from the property. This comes after Eyewitness News exclusively reported on a homeowner in Queens who was arrested for changing the locks on men she says are squatting in her home. We also reported weeks prior on another family in Douglaston who has been unable to move into a $2 million home they purchased due to a man who refuses to leave. Yeah, they passed these laws because they said, oh, there's so many bad landlords out there. And as I've mentioned 100 times, right? There are not. There is no epidemic of bad landlords out there or bad actors. Instead, what we have is 99% of landlords are doing everything right, yet they get punished. They get punished by laws like this that they put into place trying to go after the bad landlords, okay? They're like, oh, well, the bad... Do you know why a landlord would, go through an illegal eviction? Because the law is written in such a way that the legal eviction process is too long, too slow, and too expensive. So essentially, they created their own problem. They created a system where landlords feel like they can't go through the legal means of removing tenants because the law isn't on our side. And if the law was on our side, there wouldn't be any illegal evictions. There wouldn't be lockouts or people doing crazy stuff, right? There would just be landlords who filed eviction, removed the tenant, and then went about their business. Okay, that's what happens in states where, the law isn't written against landlords, okay? But they created the situation where, they have some bad actors, but even with all these anti-landlord laws in place, 99% of landlords are still not breaking the law. They're still doing everything right, but they are stuck. They are stuck with these squatters. They are stuck with these nightmare tenants who refuse to leave, who refuse to pay rent, who tear your property apart, and that is what we need to address right now, okay? We need to make sure that those landlords are protected, okay? That's it. All we need is to write a law that says, hey, these people who are committing these crimes, they're going to be treated as the criminals that they are. And that if a landlord signs a sworn statement saying that these people are not tenants, then we're going to treat them as simple trespassers and not as, though they have to go through a civil eviction process, okay? Imagine if a person stole a car and they were, oh no, I rented this car from that guy, so therefore you can't arrest me for stealing this car. Yeah, actually we can arrest you for stealing the car, okay? The person said that you stole his car and said that you didn't rent it from him. So, why would we believe that? But when it comes to a house, they think, oh, well, this person, he's just a tenant. We can't do anything to him. What a joke. Man, this stuff is so frustrating for a multitude of reasons, okay? And as we've seen from a lot of these articles, it isn't just landlords. Like a lot of people, they think, oh, well, it's just some rich landlord who's getting screwed over. Who cares, right? Then you start reading the stories about the regular homeowners, the people who buy their house, they can't move into it because some squatter moved in, and now they've got to pay 10 grand out of their pocket to get rid of this guy. Give me a break. In New York, if you call the police on someone who moved into your home without permission, if they claim to be a tenant, they can't be arrested for trespassing. Instead, the owner has to take them to court to evict them. The average eviction in the city takes about 2 years to complete. It's an unfortunate upside-down world, said New York State Assemblyman Jake Blumenkrantz, a Republican representing District 15. They know how to work the law to stay for a certain number of days to work the system. In New York, squatters have rights after 30 days. That means the property owner can't change the locks on them, can't remove their belongings, and can't cut off the utilities. If they do, the owner could be arrested. Instead, property owners must go through the court system to get rid of them. And I always wonder, right, whenever you read these articles and you read about the people proposing, fixes to these laws, it's always a Republican. Okay, do you ever think that's a little bit odd that, hey, well, the people who are, Democrats, they don't care. They don't care about property owners. They don't care about property rights. They don't care if squatters steal 1,000 properties. Okay, they're not going to write a fix into the law. They just don't care. So, think about that for a moment. When you're out there and you're about to go vote for somebody, you're like, well, this guy, he actually cares about my property rights. And this person over here, well, he thinks that some random person off the street with a piece of paper, fake piece of paper, he can just take ownership of my property and I can't do anything for 2 years. So, I'm just saying, right? I don't tell people how to vote. I'm just saying, just think about these issues, okay? Think about the problems that they cause, Think about the things that the people you're voting for are supporting or not supporting, okay? And that should give you a good indicator of, maybe it's a bad idea to put these far left-leaning progressives into office because they don't care about property rights. They're socialists, okay? People can stay in homes for years without having justice brought to them for essentially staying for free and making homeowners pay the bill, Blumenkranz said. His newly filed bill is pretty simple. It states a tenant does not include squatters. It also gives someone rights after 45 days, not 30, as many short-term rentals in New York City are required to be 30 days long. We're making sure squatters can't take advantage of the law. That's all we're doing, Blumenkranz said. And, it's a good thing that you're putting this law, proposing this law. But, I don't have faith. I don't have faith in a place like New York ever allowing this sort of law to pass, okay? You're an outlier, essentially, if you believe in property rights in New York. So most likely what's going to happen is nothing, okay? This will go through the news cycle. People will be outraged for a little bit, and we won't see any solution in New York. But what we will see is people throughout the country, in other places, such as, like they already saw that Florida implemented this sort of law. Okay, we might see other states in the South, nearby Florida, other states in the Midwest, places where landlords have more property rights and where the politicians on the other side have more political power who say, hey, this is a big problem and we need to fix it before we end up like New York.